So once again, got the '07 Escalade in for a little work. The other day, took the truck for a drive, took the kids, and one of the boys says, "It's hot back here." Had the air on. Felt back the vents, and of course it's blowing just hot air, not like your charge is low and it's just kind of cool or kind of warm, but actually like you had the heater on. So I went, oh great, here we go. AC problems, rear AC. I was around in the early 2000s doing repair work at shops, pulling full dashes, and it was a nightmare for rear AC bourbons and stuff. So I shut the rear air off, cranked up the front. The front's cold. Okay, well I've kind of been down this road before. I did replace a blend door motor in the front because the driver's side was hot, passenger side was cold. Doesn't mean your charge is low, you have a leak. It's literally just the blend door actuator. It's pretty common. The front and rear actuators on the regular sized Escalades, Tahoes, Denalis are all the same, luckily. Note to guys with the EX or the XTs, the XLs, and the Bourbons, the rear AC does have a different actuator part number, so just keep that in mind. Basically the same routine as we're going to do here anyways, but when you have cold up front, you've got hot in the rear, that means either the blend door itself broke and is kind of wedged in position, or your actuator could be bad. I'm lucky enough that I did end up buying just the Tech 2. This is a China knockoff I got off AliExpress for like 180 bucks with the GEM module on it. Worth it if you got a couple GMs. So connected that, checked body control module. Sure enough, I got 3 codes. I can flash the codes for you here in just a moment. All of them are pointing towards the actual actuator itself, circuit failure codes, that kind of thing. So very confident there. One thing to keep in mind with the actuators themselves, there are 2 different ways for them to fail, just from age. It's electronic, it happens. The other option is if the door itself goes out of range, it goes past, the full close mark or the full open mark, depends on what setting you're putting it on, it will destroy the actuator, it'll damage it. So it is possible that it went out of range because the kids did have the heat up to 90 degrees for some reason in the summertime. And then of course, we saw it was super hot, went back down to low, and it never actually returned to low. So I don't think it's the blend door. The blend door failure could cause the actuator to die. You won't know until you pull it apart, unfortunately. I went ahead and ordered 2 different brands, actuators. One's just an Amazon kind of, I don't know, China knockoff or wherever they come from. They're about 25 bucks a piece. And then I ordered some decent Dorman ones. I want to say they were $45, $48, something like that. So between 150, I figure we're going to see what the parts look like. I'm going to kind of do a review on them. The cheap ones actually had really good reviews on Amazon, which I kind of found was odd, where even the Delcos and the Dormans didn't have much information from customer reviews at all. So I kind of took a gamble. Both of them are going to arrive later. I'm just going to start taking the panels apart. It is located on the passenger side in the rear, above your wheel well. So it's got its own EVAP box and everything, which is kind of nice. And I'll kind of show you what's involved pulling the trim off, the panel off, that kind of stuff, what's behind it. And I'm pretty sure that they moved in '02 or '03. They moved the actuators from the outside of the box where you could easily get to them to the inside, so you have to actually pull the casing out away from the body. But all that'll get covered. Once parts arrive, I will do a side-by-side comparison of the 2 just to see where they're manufactured. There's really not a lot of manufacturers for specific parts like this between all the brands. There's a lot of companies that make parts for VW that supply GM, and so I kind of have a hard time feeling like there's, we've got a German one, a USA one, a Chinese one, a Mexican one, and yada, yada, yada. There's probably only a couple factories that are actually making these pieces, and then just everybody rebrands them anyways, relabels them. So I kind of got a suspicion that's what we're going to find. Delco's usually made in Mexico, which I feel is better than China, but I didn't see a manufacturer origin on the cheaper ones, so it could be just as simple as somebody's just privately labeling them and you could save 50 bucks on the repair. But either way, that's kind of the backstory on what's going on, why I'm looking into it. I did confirm with some codes. Like I said, I'll show you the codes that I have currently, and then we'll get tearing this thing apart. So first things first, your rear hatch, pop that up, and this just pops up and out of the way, easy enough. I started kind of seeing how in-depth this is going to be, and thought we were going to get lucky, and the C and D pillar trim would have been separate, but no, they are actually clipped together. So it looks like this whole panel is going to have to come out. I know that there's definitely a hidden screw here, and you can see that there's one up on the side up by the passenger rear door. Looks like this whole assembly comes. So I'm gonna get in the footwell, pop that trim up, and take the Torx head for the seat belt out. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be about what we need to do. There's a couple, looks like Phillips heads that are hidden up in here, and this panel should release. Bear with me on this one. I haven't pulled the covers off this thing yet, so we're kind of learning together, but anything hidden, I'll definitely let you know. There's going to be one electrical connector for your cigarette outlet, and then also don't forget about your seat switch there on the side, so don't yank your wiring out or anything wild there. Well, that really wasn't so bad. A lot easier than I was expecting, actually. I went ahead and just popped this rear panel out. You don't have to actually take the upper trim. There's one little, you can see it in there, little clip, just kind of secure it. Just a little screwdriver, pop that off. Two connectors back there, one for the speaker and one for some sort of sensor. The front, let me climb in here quick, actually does separate, which is awesome. Right down that rib. You could probably get away with not taking the seat belt out. I thought they were more bonded together than that, or they're just actually metal clips like you see. So I think you could probably get away with it, but either way, we are at the box, and it looks like my suspicions were correct. They are probably on the back side. Shouldn't be a big deal. You can just see that we got 1, 2, and there's going to be definitely some screws down here somewhere as well to hold this whole assembly in place. I'll get the box loose to where we can move it a little bit and let you know where any hidden screws are or anything like that. But so far, I mean, we got 5 minutes of it getting to it, so it is just the 2 screws up top. The box actually kind of releases, air duct wiggles, whatever. I looked underneath, and the bottom of the evap box is held in by 2 10mm screws. Let me see if I can get under there and show you quick. Gonna be a little difficult to see, unfortunately, with the exhaust in the way. Where the heck is it? There, you can see one there. And then there's one inside the actual lines itself. You can't really see it, kinda. I'm gonna go ahead and probably take these loose just to lift it up a little bit. You can see there's a locator dowel next to this one. I think you could probably even get away with, if you had the, pretty sure these are Torx that are holding these in. You probably grab a ratchet and get enough room. You can see both actuators are back here. So it's probably possible to get to them without removing the box itself. Get this air duct out of the way would make it a little easier. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take those 2 10mm loose just for video's sake, and see if I can't move this box out to where normal people can actually access it with just a little bit more standard tool. Now that I got this thing pulled apart, the duct just pops right off. You can look down inside and see that both blend doors aren't broken. So definitely makes sense that just had an actuator failure. Not entirely sure which one does what. I believe the lower is for temperature, for the cooling, obviously. It looks like it's closest to the core, but I'm not 100% sure on exactly how this thing's working. I'm just going to replace both and recommend, if you're in this far for the extra money, it's probably smart just to replace both of them anyways. So, but yeah, it's just an easy way to double check. The way these things are constructed looks a little bit different than the failure that I had on a 06 Dodge, a half ton or 3/4 ton. They had like a metal rod that ran the whole length, and the plastic flap literally just broke off of that little rod and kind of wedged itself down inside the heater box. So this looks a little bit long, a little bit stronger. I'd be surprised if there's a whole lot of failure in these doors themselves. I can't imagine it's not going to be an easy fix with the new actuators on it. So anyways, that's just something to check once you do pop it apart, just to make sure. Not that it will never break, but those doors look pretty beefy compared to most that I've seen. And there we have it. Just 3 T20 Torx screws and one little connector on it. Pops right off. I did take the 10 millimeters from the bottom of the case loose, which actually did run out from the case itself instead of unthreading down the metal part, which is fine. Gives you a little bit more room. Don't wrench on this too hard. You don't want to cause a leak on your lines below, but there's definitely plenty of room to comfortably access it once you do remove it. I can get my whole hand in here pretty easy. So I'll pull this other one off real quick. New actuators show up. I'm gonna just lay them next to the old original, see what kind of differences there are, if any. And this should be a pretty simple project. So waited till the end of the day for both UPS and Postal to deliver the different actuators, the Dorman ones I mentioned earlier, and the kind of off-brand. These are actually AA Ignition off of Amazon. Never really heard of them. But it does say lifetime warranty. So just real quick, these are replacements. I mean, the sockets are the same. Everything looks normal. Plugins are the same. Weight feels the same, whatever. I said I would compare the Dorman to those, the off-brand, which is made in China. Dorman sent me, I'm not sure if this is a fair comparison, but these are VVA actuators instead of blend door actuators. So I'm not going to be able to do the comparison on them. I'm not going to order the other ones and deal with the time, so sorry about that. I will be installing these. These were $25, something like that. And keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully it's not like the Duralast stuff where it's lifetime warranty because you're going to spend your lifetime warrantying them. But I'm going to go ahead and give them a shot, put them in. It shouldn't take more than a few minutes. I'll button it back up and then we'll fire the thing up and I'll do just the reset. When I did pull the box, I did disconnect the negative off the battery. So I'll probably connect it, connect my tech tool back to it, clear any history codes, and then do the key on, key off test or calibration, if you will. So I don't know if there's much actual calibration being done other than just allowing the new motor to realize the position that it's in. I did notice that this has on the face of it, the neutral position. And when you do disconnect the negative or pull the HVAC fuses, it defaults the controls back to 76 degrees or 71 degrees or something like that. So I'm guessing that is the actual middle setting. So keep in mind when you are putting these actuators back in, your door is going to have to move. You're going to have to manually move it before it'll connect and then screw back in. So keep that in mind, especially like with this being stuck on hot. It's going to be on one edge already, which I don't know if you're going to be able to see this very well, but you can kind of see maybe the alignment. This one's running this way, and this one's pretty much just straight across. So definitely is stuck in position, and just a little heads up that you are going to have to reclock that door to align with this, and then your 3 screw holes. So either way, it looks like a double A ignition is going to be what we're stuck with, unfortunately, just because of missed shipping. But that's just kind of the way that it works. I'm super glad that I had 2 options. Otherwise, I'd be sitting here waiting 2 or 3 more days, or stuck going, paying, you know, 3 times as much at the local store for basically a Chinese part that you're going to get from O'Reilly's or whatever anyways. So I got the actuators replaced, panels are back in, I buttoned it all back up, hooked up my battery again, and what I'm going to do is kind of do more of a test than anything, since I do have Tech Tool. If I need to go in and do the sweeping test for relearn or whatever, I can. Most people don't have a Tech Tool, so I was thinking it's kind of unfair for me to test it this way. So what I'm going to do is I've got the truck started. I'm just going to let it run for a while. It does default to 74 degrees once you do unhook the battery, so keep that in mind. I'm just going to let it sit somewhere between 40 to 60 seconds, and that should give it time to know where the new position is after you already moved the blend door back to the center position of the actuator. So I'm going to let it run for a minute to kind of warm up a little bit, get the AC working good. And before I touch anything, like I say, I'm going to give her 40, maybe a minute, and then shut her down, start it back up, and I'm just going to adjust it like it's just everything's new. So give me a few minutes here. I'm also going to grab the temp gun just to verify that the rear ducts are blowing cool air comparable to the front. Now it's been a few minutes. Got the air on. I put it to 67. I did the front air 67 as well, and I'm very confident it's fixed. I'm getting 60-degree duct temp, where before at operating temp it was 90. So yeah, you don't really need to do anything. There's no calibration. Let it run for a minute, shut it off, start it back up, and then I just adjusted it down. I didn't bottom it out or raise it all the way up yet. I'm going to do that as well once we're driving it, basically. But I'm going to go ahead and call that fixed. Pretty straightforward. I don't think you really need a Tech Tool for it. If you do have that cold front, hot rear AC, throw a couple actuators in it. The Amazon with a double A, those things seem to work just fine. There's no extra calibration steps to it at all. Just make sure that you unplug your negative on your battery. I think that might help just do the reset on the HVAC system itself. So seems pretty straightforward, guys. If you like the video, it helps you out at all, hit like and subscribe, help me out a little bit, and I'll keep on trying to keep this thing alive and hopefully give you guys some tips to keep yours going too.